G'day internet, welcome back to another video. SMD soldering, something that many of us kind of, let's just say, get a little nervous about. Something that I've tried in the past and kind of fudged my way through. Those that are good at it tell me that it's actually a lot quicker and a lot easier than through-hole soldering. If you're good at it, sure. But in order to help with that, I, hand on heart, was legitimately out kind of poking around at various different microscopes for use in SMD soldering and just general fault finding, stuff like that. And I got an email from Andonstar saying, hey, we'd like to send you one of our microscopes for review. And I'm like, well, I was going to buy one anyway, so sure. Now, as a YouTuber, I get those emails semi-regularly, but it's usually something just completely uninteresting, like, I don't know, a free set of steak knives or just something stupid. So when this comes through, it legitimately piqued my interest. So how about we start off by seeing what you get, what comes in the box, and we'll go from there. Right. You get the microscope. We'll come back to that in a second with its screen and lights and so forth. You get a remote control, which seems to mainly just do this kind of bit here. Power cable and charging brick. It simply just runs off, what is this? 5 volt 2 amp USB. Now you also get a small light box and some slides. This one says pine stem. So if you're into that kind of more of the medical, biological kind of microscopy stuff, that's there. You get a micro SD card. This is 32 gigs supposedly, because this can record. You get this little clear container, and I actually had to look up what it was. It's a bug holder kind of thing. So if you want to put a little bug in there and look down on it, you can, you know, without it running away. You get the lens that's on it, which is a 12 to 320 millimeter, and two others, which we'll have a look at in a second. The microscope itself, we've got a nice 7-inch screen, some controls. Like I said, there's the remote. And so what I'm going to do is, I've got this just little PCB here. If I drop that in there, and we've got a focus ring. If I zoom, kind of try and get something that resembles focus. Am I going the right way? No, try the other way. All right, we're getting there. Hey, right. So there's our little PCB. That's not a bad zoom. I don't think I'd want to bring the lens any closer if I'm working, because obviously you're gonna, like, I don't know, hit it with the soldering iron. Knowing me is a bit of a klutz. But yeah, the light does have, you can dim it a little. Where is it here? So I can dim it. Obviously, my camera's now trying to compensate. So that's that. Let's try one of the other lenses. So this one is a 4 to 5 millimeter distance. I'm guessing that's probably really to use with the slides. And then this one is a 90 to 300. So 2 screws either side of the lens. Now, one thing I will mention, these are not captive screws, so make sure you don't lose them. Take you out, don't put you lens side down. And if we focus that in, that's as far as it goes. Does it want to come in? Do I need to bring it up a bit maybe? There we go. So if we compare, it's that row of, I think LEDs go in there, that is some serious magnification. Would I use this kind of level of magnification? Maybe. Mainly, I think I would use this for more of the fault finding point of view and looking for broken traces. Not sure I'd need it this close to do any actual soldering. And just to take a quick look at some of the functionality using, I think it's the mode button. This is now in record. If you can see the little camera up in the top corner. And I think I press OK. Oh, please insert a card. That would be useful. Right, let's try that again. So if I press OK, we're recording. And I can go OK again. I can hit mode. And it goes into, I think that's camera mode. That's playback mode, because I can see the little reel. And back to camera mode. So the other thing that this thing can do is actually output HDMI as well as what's on the screen. And they even include a HDMI cable, which is nice. Now, for me at least, that's got a couple of benefits. One is obviously I can capture the video in saying that it's got its own record functionality. We'll take a look at the quality of that a little later on. Or you could plug this into a massive screen and give you kind of a better view. Now, that's all well and good. It's a microscope that does microscopy things. I'm sure you're all shocked. But what is it actually like to use? I don't know, because I've never tried to do SMD soldering under a microscope before. In fact, I've only ever tried to do SMD soldering, and I don't count just regular capacitor replacements, maybe once before, and I completely screwed it up. So what I'm going to do is, this little PCB actually came from a little kit that Randall gave me, legitimately to practice SMD soldering. It's got some through-hole components, but the main thing is that it's got two tiny little ICs that need to go onto this PCB. Quick side note, I've probably mentioned Randall like a million times before in various videos. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to actually see him on the channel, and then we can guilt him into it. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my usual magnify thing, this guy, right? And I'm going to try and do one side of one of the ICs, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm then going to do the other side of that IC under the microscope, and we'll see how we go. Okay, before we get started, let me just point out that I am not a professional soldering electronics person. I fluff my way through at the best of times. So if you want to leave some disparaging comments down below, go for it. I will probably ignore them. So I believe we normally start with some flux, right? I then try and get the IC into place. Something like that. Am I better off using my fingers? Possibly. Right, with a bit of solder on my soldering iron. It's too much, probably. I think. It seems too much. Let's I have no idea if that's enough because I can't see. Okay, I think that's on there, from what I can tell. So what we're going to do now is, I'm literally going to turn it around. we're going to put it under the microscope and see how I go with the other side. Well, looking at it already, I've got the whole thing a little cockeyed, but there you go. I've already worked something out. Let's get some flux on here. I'm going to hit record. Right, we're recording. And let's go again. And let me see if this is any easier. Okay, I think that bottom one doesn't look quite right. I think that's it. Now, looking at under the microscope, I actually think I did better the first time. Yeah, I don't know how to really take that. It's really weird, kind of not actually looking at what you're doing, but looking at it up here. That's the main bit I'm struggling with. But let's see if I can just smooth these out a bit. Okay. I'll give it a quick clean with some IPA and we can have a look. I'm pretty sure all the joins are good. Let me just go back to these for a sec. No, I definitely missed one. Number 2 is not looking fantastic. Yeah, somehow I think I did a neater job without it. But in saying that, let's try one of these tiny little resistors that go next to it. These are all the 1K ones. So let's put down some flux. Let's try and pop one of these out without losing them all. See, I already lost one. It went doing. I have no idea where that ended up. Okay, let's attempt, if that's got to go there. Yeah, it's sitting up. Okay, and let's swing it around because I'm completely left-hand useless. Okay, it's not centered, but it worked. Okay, that tiny little resistor is just not something I would even attempt with these things on. So yeah, 100% for especially tiny little things like that, that was a lot easier than what I've done before. There's actually another little IC here as well. You know what I just realized? I put that IC on backwards. It's a good thing I don't really care about this. All right, let's see how we go. A bit of solder on my soldering iron. Stop moving. That's the blue tack moving. Okay. It was easier the second time round. Okay, it's not the prettiest job in the world, but it seems to be on there. Hang on. I soldered that IC on backwards as well. Seriously, what was I thinking? That's better. So there we kind of go, I guess. It's a microscope that does microscopy things. Like I said before, what do I think of it and will I find it useful? The second time round, I think I kind of got over the fact that because you don't really have any depth perception when you're looking at the screen. While you do if you're just doing it with a magnifying glass or something like that. So that took me a second to get used to. Did I do the greatest job in the world? No. Is this the first time I've tried to solder an IC that small? Yes. And thus, do I see this thing being useful in the future? Yes, because I'll now be able to not palm off all my SMD soldering anymore and might actually have a go doing it myself. And unlike some of the other ones I've seen, this is actually really sturdy. I mean, this is all hard aluminium. There's very little kind of like cheap plastic. The only kind of plastic is really around the screen, and well, who cares? It doesn't have to be rock solid when everything else is holding it in place. My only other real comment is if you've got like a large PCB, you're gonna struggle to kind of get everywhere on the board because you've only got, well, that's not true. This does come out, you can bring this right out, okay? But you've got that much. You could come in, so you could probably do like a Mac board mostly, but you wouldn't be able to do, say, the middle of an Amiga 2000 board or something like that. I might kind of have a go at maybe making some kind of arm for it. It'd have to be really sturdy though. Oh, maybe like one of those modern kind of monitor arms that have got like the gas struts and everything in it and a huge clamp. That might work. I might have to investigate that. So a quick thanks to Andonstar for sending me this. They did offer me like a link where I could earn some money off it. Not really that interested, but what I did do is organize a code. So if you go to their website and use the coupon code Lurch, yeah, you'll get 10% off if you're interested. So I hope you found that useful. I don't do that many reviews, so I thought I would review this by simply using it. Call it my own personal way of doing a review. But if you liked the video, click like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you thought of this, at least, you know, from a distance through the internet. But as always, a massive shout out to my patrons who are scrolling up the screen as I speak. And if you'd like to help support the channel, there is a link in the description. But until then, I'll see you in the next one. Oh, it's actually got some fine control at the back here. So you can kind of, like, you know, like a microscope. Yeah. Cool.